Okay, the following is my video on the horror genre and my favorite horror films that I own, per se. I'd also like to include The Thing, Werewolf in London, American Werewolf in London, Lost Boys, etc. to this. I don't know, I mean, it sucks because, like, I prefer to do, like, a review with physical copies, but, like, most of the horror stuff that I watch is, like, on Netflix Watch Instantly, which is just an amazing service. Not to completely sound like a, product whore, but I just love the hell out of it, especially for classic 80s horror films. Okay, yeah, shutting up. But, yeah, I love 80s horror films because I think that they got two things perfectly right. They knew how to use atmosphere, and they knew how to make great gore and practical effects. Which, I mean, a lot of other decades really did okay with. I mean, the 70s comes, I think, the closest. But I think that the 80s did it, like, the best because, like, they really understood both, and, I don't know, I just feel that, yeah, they did the best. I mean, like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre had, like, an amazing atmosphere and, pretty good practical effects for, Leatherface, but, like, 70s horror films, I think, this could just be me, but were few and far between, like, with gore, practical effects, and atmosphere, whereas, like, the 90s had, like, more, oh, yeah, let's rip off Scream, which, I love Scream. Scream is a great film. It's one of my favorite horror films, but I think that, like, after it came out, like, every other horror film until, like, really, I think every other American horror film until, like, The Ring, say, or, Donnie Darko was really a remake of Scream. So yeah, that sucked. And then you had the whole Saw thing, which I think is, yeah, stupid. I think that it's just like a ripoff of Seven, and this may not be the most popular opinion in the world, but, you know, whatever, it's mine. And I think that it really did away completely with atmosphere, and just was like, okay, let's see how gory we can make this film, which I don't mind per se, so long as you have some, I guess, clever logic behind, like, the backstory of the characters, have interesting characters, an interesting antagonist. Say what you will about Jason, I mean, he kind of gets stale, but I mean, he's like a zombie mutant hillbilly, which sounds kind of more badass than, spoiler alert to the first Saw movie, so stop listening if you haven't seen it, but an old dude with, like, cancer that doesn't really come off as intimidating. Again, this is just me, but me voicing complaints, I guess, about the industry, and this isn't like, oh, why can't it be like the old days with 80s horror, but, this is just, I don't know, just my point of view of where horror is now. However, I think that Cabin in the Woods is kind of like the modern Donnie Darko, like what Donnie Darko did for the horror genre in, like, 2000s, or like what The Ring did for the horror genre in, like, 2000s, whereas they, like, reset the status quo after Scream, and there were less people copying the Scream formula. I think that post Cabin in the Woods, I mean, it didn't do that well successfully, but it was still a great movie. And I think that a lot more people in the industry will see the movie and accept it for the brilliance that it is and cut back on the saws and whatnot. That being said, I kind of like the Final Destination films so long as they're done intellectually, but yeah, anyways, again, all this complete meandering, and, oh, yeah, I also love Supernatural, which, awesome series, and I think that they really know how to do horror pretty well. I mean, it's kind of CWE horror, but like sometimes you'll get like really dark shit, or sometimes they'll even be bloody, which is pretty awesome and risque for the CW. So yeah, let's get started, shall we? One of the more innovative horror films of the past couple of years was Shaun of the Dead, which is just brilliant and hysterical and incredibly witty. If you haven't seen it already, I highly suggest you check it out. It's just a brilliant film. The writing is spot on. All the jokes work. It works if you've never seen a zombie movie, or if you've like, because I think that zombies are like pretty far ingrained into like the mind of pop culture. Like if you're around, I don't know, somewhat of a remote metropolitan area, you've probably heard about zombies from like, I don't know, ads, magazines, what have you. But I think that Shaun of the Dead was just a brilliant satire of the zombie genre, and like how they worked like great little geek references that zombie geeks will get, like what's his face, Nick Frost warning Shaun's mom, "They're coming to get you, Barbara," was such a brilliant thing, because it's like cribs back to the original Night of the Living Dead, famous line from there. The opening theme is like the opening theme to Dawn of the Dead, the 1970s, I think it was the 1970s Dawn of the Dead. Just brilliant filmmaking. I love Bill Nye. I just think that he's brilliant. I think that he's kind of like that British Jack Nicholson, although kind of, I guess, less shady, but like in the sense that he's like a rebel, and he just seems to be the kind that, like, he's an old guy that just doesn't give a fuck, which is pretty awesome. And I don't know, I thought that he was awesome in this, and Simon Pegg, what can I say about Simon Pegg? He's a genius, he's brilliant. I obviously loved Hot Fuzz too, but of course the genre being what it is, I'm only going to talk about this guy. And speaking of zombie films, not only one of my favorite zombie films, but one of my favorite films of all time, Evil Dead 2. I love this movie. It really got what I was talking about in the beginning of this video. Perfect, like the perfect thing for both of those. It really, really, really gets both atmosphere, gore, special effects, and acting. I think it's like one of the top 10 greatest films ever made. It's and it doesn't really it takes itself seriously at the beginning, but then like in the second half there's like this brilliant switch where like it doesn't take itself seriously at all, and then it just turns into this Three Stooges bit. I mean, it takes itself somewhat seriously at the beginning, but not completely, and then it's just like so wacky, like what the hell is going on? And like Sam Raimi is just a genius. Although he hasn't had as many hits these days, except for, you know, Spidey, and I kind of love Drag Me to Hell. But yeah, I thought that The Grudge was okay. I mean, unless they were doing kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing, or whatever the expression is for like kind of writing it like it's serious, but really comedically, like the Evil Dead films. But yeah, I mean, with the cat kid, he's like, ah! But, again, yeah, I really should start scripting these things, because, yay for awkward humor. So, yeah, I think that the special effects and makeup were brilliant. Who did the special effects on this? Mark Shopstrom. Shit, why have I never heard of this guy? I mean, he doesn't really stand out like Baker or Savini. God, I should really check out this guy's work more. But I've seen this film like 15 times, I think, and each time it just like gets increasingly better. Bruce Campbell is just brilliant. Bruce Campbell is kind of really the modern. Bruce Campbell is kind of the Johnny Depp of the 80s, kind of this ruggish hero, but like he was a badass, but he also had like a smart ass side to him, which I just loved. Or he was kind of, I guess, Bruce Willis of the horror genre, kind of the John McClane of the. Is it John McClane or John McCain of the horror genre? And that was just brilliant, man. God, I love this movie, and it's like in an old. And they even made a musical out of it, and it's old abandoned cabin in the woods, just going down to an old abandoned cabin in the woods, and it's just so brilliant. It's like a cabin in the woods, just like, oh, filled with zombies, which, awesome for movie hijinks. Bruce Campbell is incredibly charismatic, and again, all the things that like a horror icon or any acting icon should be. And he's just hysterical and awesome. Sam Raimi is awesome. He really has this great Three Stooges sense of humor. I'm not gonna... God, it makes it so hard to spoil it because like there's so many great ways that this kind of cribs from the Three Stooges and has that like same kind of sense of humor to it. But with like the zombie genre, which is just again brilliant. I really prefer Evil Dead 2 to the first one, which I thought was kind of dry. But then again, I'm a jaded, cynical bastard, so yeah, it could be it too. Next up, kind of running out of time, but next up being American Psycho. This was an incredibly dark, disturbing, and messed up film on all levels, but I just think that Christian Bale's performance in this was excellent. I mean, he was like playing this completely dark, completely misogynistic sociopath, and the film had the sociopath as the protagonist, which was really interesting to me. I thought, obviously, it's one of the more controversial films of all time, I'm tempted to say, but it's really peculiar. Like, the novel, when it came out, was like so regarded as being like completely misogynist, and yet at the same time, two female, both of the writers on this were women, and the director of this was a woman too. And I don't know, I just think that that's kind of peculiar, and I think that Christian Bale is excellent in this. There's some really great pitch black humor, as well as like really terrifying fucked up moments. And Reese Witherspoon's in a dark, fucked up horror film, which is just, I mean, it's Reese Witherspoon, like, playing Reese Witherspoon, too. I mean, like, and her character is, I mean, it seems like they're in two different movies, because, like, she seems like she's playing the cutesy, happy Reese Witherspoon character, and then it's like the rest of the film is just like this dark, really incredibly dark film, and I just kind of love that kind of dynamic between Christian Bale's incredibly dark character and Reese Witherspoon, who's like, yay, this is awesome, and shit like that, and Willem Dafoe has a really great role in here. It's short, although great. The rest of the cast is incredible. The music is perfect. It's, again, incredibly disturbing and pretty misogynist for a film directed by a woman, which is kind of ironic, I guess. I don't know if it's misogynist or kind of a warning against misogyny or something, or I don't know. Yeah, again, a controversial film, but I kind of liked it. So, yeah, continuing in part 2.